This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, boys and girls from Shikla Elementary and Henry B. Berkland Elementary. Welcome to Safari Live in South Africa. My name is Steve, and we really do apologize for the delay. There's been some technical issues that we have resolved now. I'm joined on camera by Davesito, and we are out in Sabi Sands in South Africa, where, can you believe it, is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We are very hot. We're enjoying a little bit of shade while we've been waiting for you to join us. And please send through your questions with your teacher. Let us know what you'd like to talk about and where we can go with this afternoon's discussion. But for now, we are just sitting at a watering hole, a very popular watering hole here in Djuma in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, called Chitwa Chitwa Watering Hole, which is where all the animals like to come and drink. And for now, we've got some very specialized birds there on the right, called African spoonbills, because they've got a very long flat beak, and you can see the tip of the beak is quite flat, and they use it for catching insects and small aquatic things inside the water as they move their beak through like a big soup spoon or a wooden spoon in a pot, mixing everything up, and then they're able to catch the food that they're looking for. And behind you can see what looks like a rock in the water is in fact, there we go, he's just showing us his head. In fact, a big hippopotamus, another one on the right-hand side. It is so hot, they're enjoying their swim. And Dave and myself have been thinking of maybe going to go join them, but, well, it's a very dangerous affair climbing in to the watering hole with hippopotamuses. And there's also some crocodiles lurking in there somewhere. There's another pod. Hello, Dylan. You want to know where kingfishers live? Well, back over there, there's at least one kingfisher species hanging around the water called the pied kingfisher. I saw him just briefly flying around the water there. There's about 3 or 4 species in South Africa that are very sort of aquatic, so close to the water, and then others that are sort of in the woodland itself. So they often will either live or sleep inside of cavities. There we go. There's a saddle-billed stork on the left, an Egyptian goose in the middle, and to the right, Dave, did you see that? Look at that, an African fish eagle. So the kingfishers, they live in cavities in either trees or in sandbanks. That is where they'll have their babies. So up against the side of the bank there, if they're able to excavate a hole, that is where they'll lay their eggs. But the fish eagle cooling itself down by having its feet in the water. I wish we could do that, but it would cost us a few toes indeed if we stuck our toes in there. Okay, well, while we enjoy a little bit of shade here by the watering hole, my good friend Sydney, who's not far away, is also baking in the sun.
A very good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to the beginning of the school drive. My name is Sydney Ofumulani Mikosi, and I am traveling with Craig, who is my camera operator this afternoon. Please don't forget that this is your game drive, and you can ask your teachers to ask us questions on Twitter, #SafariLive. My plan this afternoon is to look for some elephants for you. Maybe I'll be lucky and show you some elephants. It is very much hot where I am at the moment. I have seen some fresh leopard tracks. I was trying to do a follow-up on them, but because of this heat, I'm sure that leopard is somewhere hiding. After the elephant, I will try by all means and come back and carry on and see if maybe we can see him. So it's much more nice and clear where I am at the moment. So if there is any predator, an animal who hunts other animals, it's very easy to see it. Alaya, these animals, they can camouflage very easily. One, let me use an example such as a chameleon. A chameleon is an animal. And that animal, I can promise you, has got a very good camouflage because can always match with the surrounding very quickly to avoid the predators such as the big birds to come and catch them. But when it comes to the big antelopes, some of these animals, such as the kudus, can also be easily get camouflaged in the bush. Specifically, during the winter season when the trees does not have leaves, the bush looks gray and it looks more like the body color of an animal. But also the leopards now and during the dry season, because of their spots, they can be able to get camouflaged and avoid these other animals who they hunt to see them. So here where I am very close to one of the water holes. This water hole is attracting quite a lot of animals. It does attract also the big animals such as the elephants. But today here I can see there are no elephants. It's very much quiet. So by this time of the day is when the elephants like to come to the water holes and play in water and play with mud. So I'm checking on the ground a lot here because these animals, we have to also check their tracks. Where they have gone past, they do leave behind a sign. And as guides, we can be able to judge how long the animal has been here. We can estimate and find that animal for you. So that is part of tracking. So we don't only have to look. So now let's cross over to Steve, who is by one of the biggest water holes in the reserve.
Yes, well, we are spending time at the watering hole because that is the best place to get animals to come down and drink when it's this hot. But nothing is really coming down at the moment. It might be just so hot in the daytime that they're waiting a little bit longer before coming down to drink. But the Egyptian goose family, now you can see the two adults, and they've got 10 little geese around here, and they will spend time in the water. Very protective parents, and the youngsters follow them around, and well, they feed on grass, boys and girls. They feed on grass on the side, or they feed on little bits of organic material that is floating on sort of the surface of the water. You can see she's having a little bit of a drink, but they use their big flat beak for almost filtering the water and collecting any of sort of the algae and the organic material that is sort of floating on top. And a lot of that is actually created by the hippos. The hippos, they live in the water, and they will also defecate in the water, which means go to the toilet in the water. Isn't that gross? So lots of the vegetation goes inside the water and provides food for lots of fish and lots of birds. Jackie and Miley, you want to know how many hippos can live in a pod? That's a very good question. There are lots and lots of hippos in this watering hole. Last time I was here, I can only count about 15 now. It really depends on how much water there is. There, the fish eagle is chasing something. He's going to go land in the tree. The pods can get really, really big. They can get really, really big, and it all depends on how much water is available and how much food there is on the outside. For example, you're going to be going up to the Masai Mara shortly, and you'll see David up there in the Mara River. There are so many hippo, and it's hard to count sometimes. But down here, the watering holes are a little bit different. But hippo pods can be anywhere from 20 up to 40 even. And they will obviously, as the water level gets much lower, they'll have to move somewhere else. We are supposed to be in the wet season, so we're expecting rainfall. And this watering hole should fill up, which will then make a lot more homes for the hippos to come into, because they need the water. They like to spend all their time in the water, coming out at night to feed. The water protects them, and protects their babies as well. And well, when there's no water around, they get very, very grumpy. Hello, Olivier. You want to know how hippos communicate? Well, they communicate very strangely. Are you ready to hear it? That was me. But hippos make noises very similar to that, and it can cover a very large distance. It's very loud sort of sounds, lots of grunts and snorts that they make. They've got an enormous mouth, so it's very difficult for them to talk nicely. All they do is really just bellow at each other. But so there they're in the water. They generally make their noises towards the evening, and it starts getting time to go out. They get quite social, and they shout and they scream, and they let every other hippo know it's nearly time to go out. But normally this time of day they're very quiet and just basically sleeping there. But it's why they've been sort of classified in the same family as a whale. Can you believe a hippo and a whale are related? Very strange, isn't it? And it's because the hippos live in water. Obviously, we know whales live in water. The hippos feed in water. So do the whales. Hippos also communicate in water, and they give birth to their babies in the water. And lastly, the babies actually suckle on mum underneath the water, which is exactly what what whales do. So they are classified as whales, although they have 4 legs. And they come out at night to feed on grass. They will feed on some vegetation in the water, but normally they walk very, very far in the evenings to consume huge amounts of grass for their big body mass. Very good. Water is the currency of life, and if you hang around long enough, you'll see all sorts of animals coming down to drink, such as elephants, lions, and maybe even a leopard we'd like to show you. But anyway, as promised, David is all the way up in the Mara. He's driving, and he'd like to say good afternoon.
A very good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to the Mara Triangle. I'm in a different country called Kenya, which is thousands and thousands of miles and kilometers from South Africa. My name is David, and with me on camera is Archie. Archie, how are you? And sorry, we had a bit of delay when we started our show for one reason or another. We had some technical issues, but finally we are here. I'm sure you all know the saying, better late than never. Steve, I'm sure, has told you, most importantly, remember to ask us questions through your teachers, and that way gives us a lot of joy. Or should you have any comments, please send them through. I have lots of good plans for you, and I'm going to start by looking out, possibly see whether I can get any elephants. But I first want to see you to see the beautiful view of the Mara and the difference between where I am and where Steve and Sidney are. The Mara is more open. What you see are trees. Jackie, very good question in asking what's the most common animal in the Mara. We have all sorts of animals, but I would say the most common animal when we have what we call migration, it's the wildebeest. But at the moment, all the wildebeest have gone back to Tanzania, a country south of Kenya, in a national park called Serengeti. So what we have now, most are zebras and a few antelopes. Now, as I said earlier, my plan is to look or get as many animals as possible for you. It feels a bit cold, much cooler than it is in South Africa. It's 23 degrees Celsius here, or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Much cooler than it is in South Africa. Well, I'll be looking for everything, and from the birds, from the big animals to the small animals. If I see small ants, I'll also stop and I'll show them. So I thank you, Jackie, being the very first one to ask me a question. So I'm encouraging all the other boys and girls to keep asking me and Sydney and Steve questions, because that way you keep us on our toes. Anything you want to know, you'll have a nice comment also to make. Don't be shy, so bring it out. Henry B. Buckland School, you also would like to know what other animal we might be seeing. I may not guarantee you 100%, but I can say one thing is a fact. I will be able to catch you some zebras today, as much as I already counted the zebra and the wildebeest. And chances are I might also be able to get some elephants and buffaloes for you. So those four, I would say almost guarantee, because I know this game reserve very well. I live here, I'm here every day. And as much as the animals move, we'll always have an idea where they will go. We'll have an idea where they will go because they'll only go to particular places for two reasons. Number one, for food. So they'll go where there's enough grass to eat or enough leaves or trees to eat. Number two, they'll always go where there's water. So if I know where there's some nice lush grass, that's where I will go because they'll have chances of seeing an animal. If it's too hot, like a hot day, I will go to a river or near a swamp or near some spring or a well, because chances are we might see animals that will go there to have a drink. So we all keep our fingers crossed because I might be getting those animals for you. Oops. Okay. Now, let me see what big animal I'll be spotting for you, boys and girls. But Sydney is trying the best he can to spot a spotted cat. Let's find out the latest from him now.
Look at that. I have got the very big animal with me right here, and it's just about to disappear at the moment. You can see that these elephants are now feeding much more, heading towards the drainage line, which is the old dry riverbed. So at least one of them is still behind there. You can see him. This is the largest land mammal. Look at that animal moving very quickly with their ears moving, trying to cool the body temperature. So let's just follow them a little bit. There they are going downhill. So the elephant has got the big ears simply because they must have to have a good hearing. They concentrate deep in the bushes, and the very same big ears serve for a very important purpose, which is to cool the body temperature. So now I can see these elephants are crossing the dry riverbed. So they are disappearing at the moment. It was a quick sighting. Now they've got a baby. Look at that. Look at the baby there. Griffin, the elephants, we have to look at the tracks on the ground. They've got very big track. So we look for that very big track on the ground. And something else is that elephants, they do secrete a very distinctive smell. Where they are, when passing by, you are going to pick the smell and go there to find them. So that is how simple you can find them. And you can also hear them pushing the trees. You will hear them breaking the branches. So they are not very silent, but by this time of the year, they can be silent because the bush is green and the leaves are nutritious. They don't really have to push down the leaves. They don't have to push down a lot of trees. But as time goes on, when the bush is starting to become dry, is when they push down the trees a lot in order to eat the roots. But now, food is everywhere. So they simply got disappeared. I'm going to carry on and see if we can reallocate the leopard tracks. Maybe this is going to be our lucky afternoon with the leopard. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David has got the buffaloes at the moment.
Welcome back, boys and girls. And a few minutes ago, I was telling you of some of the possible animals you might get here. I got that question, I think, from Backland School. And I spoke of a buffalo. And there we are. We got a buffalo for you. And maybe not one. There could be two. How nice is that? These are what we call African buffaloes. And you can see how big they are. Just like the elephants you had in Sydney. Huge animals, aren't they? Now, buffaloes are herbivores, and when I say herbivores, I mean they eat grass, as you can see there. Now look at this particular one carefully, and you see how big horns he got. He got very big horns because he is a boy. If it was a girl, or what I'd call a female, the horns would be much smaller. But on top of the horns there, you can also see he got lots of mud on his horns. Nick, very good question. Apart from the grass that this herbivore or this buffalo is eating, herbivores will also eat leaves, they'll also eat twigs, and sometimes you get animals like elephants eating the bark of trees. So Nick, herbivores will eat anything green, from small plants to the leaves, to the grass, to the twigs, and sometimes you get animals like elephants even eating branches of trees, because elephants are strong and they can be able to chew. Hopefully, either me or Sydney or Steve Nick might show you an elephant eating that. Look at that buffalo eating grass and just posing and looking. See the amount of mud that he got on his head? Now, currently in Kenya, we have what we call the short rains. And when it rains, if you look at that buffalo carefully, he got a lot of mud on his fur or on his body. It's because they enter in mud wallows and they just roll, and by so doing, they try to cool themselves off. But sometimes the mud that they put on their body will be able to suffocate. If they have any insect or any parasite on the skin, that mud also suffocates those parasites and kills them. There are so many dangerous animals in Africa, but boys and girls, from the village I come from, the buffalo is the most dangerous animal. So every time when I'm back home in my village, we are always careful not to bump into buffaloes. Now, boys and girls, I'm sure you all might have watched the movie Lion King. Let's go back to Steve and find out whether he got something interesting.
Thanks, David. Well, another animal that's never found too far away from water and also enjoys the mud just like buffalo is the warthog. And here we've got a small family of warthog. There's the mummy warthog, and there's at least two little youngsters there. We can see one clearly at the moment. The other one, I think, is hiding behind her. And like the hippo and the buffalo and the Egyptian geese, these guys have to eat grass. Oh, she's coming to say hello. Coming to investigate what's going on. See, she's covered in mud. The tusk there on the left of her face, full of mud. Oh, she was just walking from the one shady spot to the next one. It is so hot outside that all the animals are avoiding. Oh, here we go. Little youngsters are playing. Baby warthogs are the coolest things ever. They just look too small to do anything, but they are very, very quick, able to keep up with mum. Because, well, most of the predators out here, they love to catch warthogs. Cheetah, wild dog, lion, leopard, they love them. And see how they've moved into the shade. What clever little warthogs they are. It's a lot of energy to spend time out in the sunshine. So a lot of animals have sort of evolved in the savannah where there are trees to provide the shade. That's how these animals are able to survive in the very hot summer months that we have. If it wasn't for the shade, well, it would be a big problem for all of them, for all of us as well, I think. Hello, Avery. You want to know why warthogs have horns on their faces? Well, they're actually tusks. They're modified teeth, and they are designed for fighting and for defense against predators. I was talking about all the predators that like to catch warthogs. Well, if they don't have any form of defense, then they're much easier to catch. So you can see the female on the right has got those tusks that are quite easy to see, but underneath them on the bottom jaw is actually a much sharper tooth. You can see it just at the bottom of the screen on the bottom jaw, and that's moving against the top one. And it's being sharpened like a very sharp dagger, and that one can do a serious amount of damage to a predator that tries to catch them. So if a leopard or a cheetah sees those tusks, they quite often will try and ignore the warthog. Sophie, you want to know if they could kill a leopard and how? Well, a leopard needs to try and catch the warthog without those tusks getting anywhere near the leopard's body, which is very difficult because most times leopards try and catch animals. Oh, she's going to have a toilet break. They try and catch them, and you need to try catch them on the throat, where they can then suffocate them and take the breath out of them. But it's got a very thick neck, and it's quite difficult to get around. And the warthog's got a very powerful neck as well. And if they lift their head up and one of those sharp teeth sort of cuts the leopard in a dangerous area, maybe some soft skin or where there's a lot of blood or an artery, well, the leopard could easily bleed out. And so they have to be very careful when trying to catch these animals. But when they see the youngsters, they catch them very readily because they don't have the tusks and they're not as powerful or as strong. So warthog have to be always very, very vigilant, always keeping their attention out, looking for anything that's trying to sneak up on them. That's why they quite often like being out in these open areas. Hello, Chloe. You want to know if warthogs are a predator of anything? Well, being part of the pig family, they will actually eat meat from time to time. They might feed on some eggs or maybe some baby birds that are on the ground, but they're not necessarily regarded as a predator. Sometimes they might feed on meat. If an animal has been killed and it's lying there, they might feed on that, being an omnivore. But they mainly feed on roots of grasses themselves, and on fruit. That is their main diet, but they do every now and again eat meat. But they're not very well known for being able to chase something down and kill it. That's not really what they do. It is reserved for the cats and the dogs out here. Aren't they very cute how they go down on their front knees to feed, to get much lower to the ground to eat the juicy grass that is coming up after a little bit of rainfall. So babies, 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 from baby Egyptian geese, baby warthogs, up to baby zebra in the Mara.
Well, from the babies of the warthogs, now we have another baby. And boys and girls, I told you, apart from the wildebeest, we also have a lot of zebras there, or zebras here. And you can see that zebra baby busy feeding. And a zebra, just like the buffalo, remember we're talking about herbivores. Even this baby zebra is a herbivore. And that's why she is eating grass. See how beautiful she is, with all the patterns, the black and white, or the white and black. And just to let you know, all zebras that we got in Africa, the body patterns that you see on them, they are all very different. Be it this small one here, and the mother to the right, or is it to the left of the zebra, which is to the right of your screen. And definitely that's the mother. And you see the difference in the stripes. These ones are much, they're more conspicuous, either more black or more white, unlike the baby zebra, which they looked a bit brownish in color. These ones here are more defined. You see the difference? We take you back to the baby. See the difference? The baby has a bit of brown, not as black and white as the mother. Mason, very good question, and you like to know why do they have that color difference? It's simply because these two zebras are of the different age. And if you look carefully, the baby is still pretty young, and because she is young, she's still got that brown color and not very good white. But as they grow older, we're going to show you more. As they grow older, the brown disappears and they're more conspicuous in terms of looking black and looking white. Now, you might be very lucky because you see that, oh, you see that one nursing there. How nice to see one just nursing there. And that's a game ranger's camp. That's why you see that small little building behind there is a game ranger's camp who live there. And the work of the game rangers is to make sure the animals are safe and we are all very safe. How was it to see the zebras there? You see all that? Oh, that's a camp for the game rangers. And they always help to take care of the animals, to make sure animals are safe. all the tourists who are here are safe, including myself and Archie. Now, I think there's a teacher from Shikla School whose name is Giraffe Girl, I guess. And if the teacher is watching, we have an animal who I think has your name in it, and that is a giraffe. And maybe not one, but about 4 of them. And this is what we call the Maasai giraffe. And how lucky, maybe not even 4, but 5. And boys and girls, these are the tallest animals in the world. Nick, that's a very good question. You'd like to know the proportion of the neck of a giraffe. Now, the neck of a giraffe is about half its body length. So it's about half its body length, and the head would, I would say, take about 5% of its total body. But Nick, something interesting, the length of the neck is also the same or about the same height as the legs of the giraffe. I'm looking at about 6 feet. So the length of the neck is about 6 feet, and the length of the feet is also about 6 feet. So the legs, the length of the legs, and the length of the necks of the giraffe are more or less the same. Now, if you look carefully, we got some birds that are jumping up and down on the body of that giraffe. You see them? Those birds are called oxpeckers. And what they do, they remove parasites from the bodies of giraffes and many other mammals. So they're called oxpeckers, and we've got 2 types of oxpeckers, red-billed oxpeckers or yellow-billed oxpeckers. Leila, you'd like to know why are their necks so long? Now, giraffes have one advantage, or giraffes, there's one thing they do other animals do not do. Leila, trees, look at that one. So, and because they have the long necks, they would reach the top of the canopy of the trees. Any bush that is high is only the giraffes that can reach. That's why the long, by so doing, they trim the trees not to grow very tall upwards. That's one advantage giraffes got. The only other animal that I know that can do that is the male elephant that also can eat very tall trees. Leila and all the other boys and girls, look at that giraffe. Look at her height comparing to the zebras. You see the difference? That's just the neck that you see. That's way over the height of the zebras. Imagine the body. So the body up to the base of the neck is the same height of the zebras. Can you imagine? And the neck is then way out, plus the head is just sticking out, and it looks a lot bigger than the zebras. So you're very lucky to have seen the tallest animal in the world, and this is the Maasai giraffe. Now, there's one big difference between these herbivores, the zebra and the giraffe and the buffalo that I showed you earlier. Now, giraffes will only eat leaves or twigs. Giraffes do not eat grass. So if you look at them carefully there, they're not eating any grass. They're just eating the top leaves or small twigs or small shrubs. So we call giraffes browsers, while zebras we might see the birds or the mites, and that's what they are eating. So they have a very special relationship that is called symbiotic relationship. So the ticks, or the zebras, or rather the giraffes rather, provide the birds with the ticks, and they feed on them, and the birds help the giraffes by removing those parasites because they are not good for the giraffes. Now look at the giraffe and just notice carefully, she's just plucking out leaves from that green bush and not eating the grass. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference between the giraffe and the zebra. Well, boys and girls, my apologies because I had a little technical issue and sorry I was a bit quiet, but now I am back and alive. Now, these giraffes are looking at something, not very sure what they're looking at, but what happens, should they see something they don't like, for example, a cat, be it a lion or a cheetah or a leopard, that's how they look. If you look at them, they look very attentive. They're definitely looking at something. But once they are like, all right, there's nothing to worry, nothing very big, then they just continue eating. If they would have continued looking, I would have very quickly gone to where they are and tried to investigate what they're looking for. It could have been maybe a lion or a cheetah or a leopard. But once again, they are looking. The zebra is also looking. And many times these animals have helped us to identify or to see cats. Anytime we see the herbivores just looking at one direction and looking a bit worried, we have always known there's something maybe they don't like and something they're afraid. And they're always afraid of something, which is always good for us. Now, I've seen what they're looking for was not a cat, but I think Sydney is working very hard to maybe find a cat for you.
So I am still in the middle of a search for one of the cats here in the area, Hosanna, one of the leopards popular as the little chief, and he seems to be somewhere in this area, but I have not yet picked up any convincing evidence of where he is lying down at the moment. I have seen the tracks, but I can't find him. So he must be hiding somewhere in this drainage line here. So I'm checking each and every bush because I know he likes to hide here. So it's very much quiet. I'm not seeing any other animal, which is a clear indication that the tracks I saw is of him and he has been here not long time ago. Jack, when the sun is hot like this, the sun always restricts the activities of the animals. So there might be some of them feeding here, but some are gathering under the trees for some shade. So we have got animals which are called ruminants, animals which go out and eat the grass and go and find a nice shade and take back to the grass to the mouth and eat again. So those animals, we call them the ruminants. And I think now is the time to Henry B. Buckland School to say goodbye and thank you very, very much for all your participation. You have been very good to us and your questions were great. Scotty, we do find these animals without scaring them, because here where I am, we are managing a natural system where we don't give this animal anything to eat and we don't harm them. So these animals, every time they pick the presence of the car, they don't get irritated at all. And something else you must know is that the animals don't have problems with the cars, and when I'm sitting here, they think I'm part of the car, so they can not see me sitting on this car. It is very, very hot here where I am at the moment. I am not surprised why animals are hiding this afternoon. Amelia, the leopards, that's quite a very good question, Amelia. The leopards, they do communicate by sound, and they also use non-verbal communication. And this is how it works. They use the tail to communicate with the cubs, the babies, as a follow me sign. And when they are coordinating their hunt as well, they can be able to use the tip of the ears when they are teaching their little ones, the cubs, how to hunt. And sometimes you will hear them doing something called sawing, where they will be making noises such as that kind of a noise is when they are communicating with the other ones in their area to say, this is my place. They are territorial, which means they mark and demarcate where they are staying and they control that area. When they are doing that is when they are saying, this is my place. If you come here, I am going to fight you. So I hope we are going to see one of these leopards before we finish. I'm going to try by all means and see if we can find him. But it's difficult. You will never know. Maybe we are heading towards the right direction. So they are very much quiet. During the day, all they do is to just sleep until the sun goes down. That is when you will see them moving around. So they don't like it when it's hot like this. So now let's quickly cross over to the Masai Mara, where it's a little bit cooler than where I am at the moment.
Welcome back, boys and girls, and it has been exciting for all the animals we've been seeing today. You know, the buffaloes, elephant, zebras, giraffes, still working very hard to see if we'd possibly see a cat, you know, for you boys and girls before we end our session, and especially with the Shikla school. And I'm keeping my eyes open and I'm looking left and right. The challenging thing here, sometimes you might see a cat that will be lying, for example, a lion in the grass here, and you totally miss it. You might think, oh, there's something there, and there'll be nothing. So the only thing is to look. Sometimes you stop and look, and on lucky days, what we see is just a little flick of a tail, and oh, there was a lion there, because they tend to blend in very well. But we are still here, still looking very hard. Who knows what we might see in this grass. And this kind of vegetation I was saying before is a little different from the vegetation in Juma in South Africa. But while boys and girls of Shikla School, I want to thank you very much for having joined us again today, and hopefully we shall be seeing you again on another drive. From myself and Archie, and from Kenya, the Mara Triangle, it is goodbye and adios. All right, to our regular viewers, we have been having rains in the Mara, and it has been raining, and I had a viewer the other day, welcome everybody, who told me, I do not think it's raining cats and dogs there, it's raining buffaloes and elephants. And yes, because it has been raining very heavily. Yesterday, luckily, we did not have any rains, and talking of raining buffaloes and elephants, I'm coming very close to a herd of elephants that got calves, and we shall be seeing them maybe the next 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and hopefully I'll chew you like that. And we got a herd of elephants here just feeding and enjoying the low temperatures of the day, because it's not as warm or as hot as it is in Juma. And just aiming the final controls here is beautiful, and truly is beautiful. The background is just magnificent. All the colors, you'll think of different shades of green, and especially now with the rains coming, 2 days ago, I had a very wrong prediction of the weather, and I said it's not going to rain, and we were hammered for about 1 hour. And I think that day we had about 50 millimeters of rainfall, you know, on an estimate on the rain gauge. Very young calf there, and definitely that must be the mother on the right. And I'm sure she's running her ropes on what to feed on if she is not nursing. Excuse me. Yeah, you say elephants, yeah, and I just want to let you know, this is my favorite. Thank you very much. These are my favorite animals, and I've always said this many times. Every time you sit with an elephant here in the wilderness, it will entertain you. In one way or the other, an elephant will entertain you. Feeding, flapping the ears, flicking the tail, looking at you, just grabbing or grasping some grass from the ground, giving it a small little kick, turning around, or just pausing, and you see it sometimes rubbing its ears, rubbing its eyes. An elephant will always keep you going. The times we see some entertaining animals, you know, like cats and lions, and you might see them just being there flat, even for 1 hour, doing nothing. I don't remember, and I would think Sydney and Steve and Zoli, Trish will agree with me, an elephant is not going to spend more than 5 minutes without entertaining you. They'll always be doing something. Sorry about my hair there. And you can see either moving, grabbing the grass or any little shrub. This calf's trying to catch up with the mother there. You can see the grass is different in terms of color, depending on the type of grass. Some of it is much greener than the other. And this is exactly what we see when the rains come. That calf to me is too old not to have any tusks, but also looking at her carefully. Avi, I agree with you, the Ellis love the rain. And looking at that calf, I'm saying either she got one tusk and not two. The left one could be missing, but also looking at her carefully, she doesn't have a tail. The tail is missing, Avi, there. I'm sure you can see that, which is rather strange. Normally elephants have all the body parts intact, but once in a while you see an elephant either missing a tail or having a half tail. Many things could have happened when young. Now we're looking at this one. This one is complete. This youngster here, she got her full tail. And sometimes you look at their tusks, sometimes they could be crooked, or maybe one could be missing a tusk and having one, or one could be having one broken one. All things, these things happen here in the wilderness. And there's so many reasons why those things could happen. And sometimes it is genetical, or sometimes they break the tusks out here when they're feeding. Very nice to see some Ellis after all the giraffes and zebras we had before. And I'm sure Steve is also looking for something to show us.
Yes, well, welcome back. We've tried to find you a little blue wax bill. They are one of the prettiest little birds, and he's disappeared. We had two of them just in the branches here a moment ago. We are just sort of north of Chitwa watering hole. We're hoping to find some animals, but it's very quiet down the side today. Everybody's too hot. They're just hiding somewhere in the shade, so we're going to jump back over onto Juma. Have you got him? We might be able to get him. A little blue wax bill. Somewhere over there. Very camouflaged. No. Not today. It's not easy to get them on camera when the males are breeding. they will get these beautiful little grass stalks and they'll stand in the branch just like this and do a bit of a dance for the ladies to show them, look at this, look at my nesting material, look at my nesting material. They'll make a very sort of messy woven ball inside a shrub somewhere where the female will lay a couple of eggs. But sadly, they don't want to show us. But anyway, we're going to jump back over into Djuma. Going to head up sort of Cheetah Cut Line towards Buffelshoek Watering Hole. We tried to go there this morning. We never managed to. Go ahead up on that side and see what's going on. See if anything comes in from the east. Go and see what's happening up at one of the busiest watering holes in the north. Although I believe it is very dry at the moment. Chitwa though, not too much going on. We're hoping to find a herd of elephants or two coming down to drink. But today is not the day. We had a herd or two this morning close to Buffelshoek. So maybe they will be around. I hope everyone is doing wonderfully well this afternoon or morning, wherever you might be. Don't forget to send through your questions, hashtag SafariLive, or throw them down on the YouTube chat stream. We'd love to hear from you. Any special requests for the afternoon that we can hopefully try and facilitate? I believe we haven't seen a leopard in a few days. The good news, it is a lovely afternoon. It is bright and sunny. And, well, it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit not long ago. I think it's a little bit cooler than that. But we found ourselves a nice shady spot by the watering hole to sit and sort of wait while we're having some technical issues. There's some impala up ahead here. Yes, indeed, we do have sunscreen on. Very important. It's actually got this very nice cool spray on the sun cream. So it's quite nice. Nice and cool, activated. So anyway, lots of impala around. The kudu that we've seen this morning, it didn't look great. Here we've got a couple of impala hanging out with a couple of Egyptian geese. The Egyptian geese are just prolific. It is phenomenal how many there are around. They're doing very, very well. I wouldn't be surprised if they are one of the other animals that forms a good portion of the diet of the leopard population. I mean, we chat and talk lots about the goslings and where have they gone. No doubt with the amount of Egyptian geese we have around, they're definitely, including the scrub hares and the Franklin, spurfowls are a very important part of the diet of our medium to small cats. The impala being the other option there. Ooh, there we go. Did you see that? That little woodland there. Let me just move up. Woodland kingfisher. He did a little bit of a bath. You get him, Darby. He's just here. A little bit of a splash in that puddle. And now he's throwing his feathers around, trying to cool himself down and also, just give himself a nice clean. Birds will often do some water bathing at this sort of time of day. They want to still make sure there's enough sunlight to dry the feathers before the evening. Probably this time of year it's not too much of a concern, but in the winter months certainly the birds will often have a bath in the afternoon while there's still enough sunlight out to dry the feathers, because, well, no one wants to go to bed with their wet duvet, do they? Right? Very nice to see the woodland kingfisher that everybody was so looking forward to seeing. And once we've seen them now, they have such a loud noise. They are the first ones in the morning to call. Deborah, you love them. They are a very special bird. Coming all the way down from sort of Central Africa and coming down here to breed. They are definitely one of the birds we really long to see. But then as the summer months draw on, their loud is the first one in the morning and the last one in the evening. It's incessant, and then we realize, we don't like them that much anymore until they go away again, and then we long all year for them to return, kind of heralding the beginning of our proper rainy season. They're coming down here for breeding, of course, and for multitudes of insects. Very nice. Sorry that there is a guarri branch in the way. We were hoping maybe he would go and dart into the tree, into the water again for a nice cooling off, because no doubt myself and Dave would love to jump in there regardless of how muddy it is. But anyway, Sydney's out and tracking. He's had reports of the little chief. He's found some tracks. Let's go see if he's had any luck.
A very, very good afternoon and welcome on board. This is Sydney. I am traveling with Craig, who is my camera operator. You can ask us questions on Twitter, #SafariLive. We are following on leopard tracks, and this leopard, we have identified the tracks as Hosanna, the little chief. He is somewhere not far away, somewhere around the Galago Pen, between the Galago Pen and the Vuyotela Pen. There's quite a lot of impalas in the area, and the tracks, they are not that very old. He has also been spotted last night somewhere by the dam camp, and some other game vehicles here also confirmed that they saw fresh tracks from Galago Pen this morning going to this side, and I'm following the tracks